Good day, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here again on Neem Capsule podcast. Today, we have really amazing guests with us, as always. As you know, we are in the 16 days of advocacy, of activism, and we're looking at the title or the topic, Unite Activism to End Violence Against Women and Girls. That's the global theme. But for today, we'll be looking at creating safe spaces for victims of GBV. As we know, safe spaces come from in different, areas. But today we are looking at the one-stop center here in Abuja. Statistics show that 1 in every 3 women or girls have experienced one form of GBV or another. So it suffices to say that the need for safe space for survivors of such violence has never been more pressing than it is today. Today on the podcast, we have our very own Evelyn and Suzzy, who run the One-Stop Center here in Abuja, which is a collaborative effort between the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Neem Foundation. Evelyn and Suzzy, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So if you could just introduce yourself very shortly, and we could start. Evelyn.
Okay, so I'm Evelyn Teundu Ugbe. I'm the technical lead at Neem Foundation. I also work on issues of gender-based violence, and policy and legislative advocacy. Look forward to the conversation.
Awesome. Evelyn and Suzzy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Suzzy Jato, and I'm the administrative officer at the One-Stop Center.
Great.
Yes,
Great
so I work with Evelyn.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Great to have you on the show.
Right.
I was
Glad to be
saying,
here.
I was saying earlier that everyone should be a gender advocate in one way or another, because it's really alarming these days to see the amount of cases that are either coming up or potential issues that might raise from, some things that we skip. And so we'll talk about all of that, but within the purview of this One-Stop Center, Evelyn, I'm sure people want to know what the One-Stop Center is.
Okay, so a one-stop center is a holistic center or holistic facility that provides holistic, comprehensive, timely, and quality services to GBV survivors. Now, there are different dimensions of GBV. When gender-based violence happen, just to portray a typical situation, the survivor might need medical aid. That's where the medical aspect of the services come in. The survivor might also need legal support in terms of access to justice, because GBV is also a human rights issue and an issue of access to justice. The survivor might also need to overcome the trauma and all of that emotional and psychological effect of the gender-based violence. So the survivor will need psychological counseling. And in some cases, GBV is also alluded to, poverty or economic issues generally. So the survivor will need some sort of livelihood support. So at this one-stop center, all the services are available in a particular point, in a coordinated manner, in a timely manner, because of the nature of GBV, and it also implies that survivors need to access these services as soon as possible, due to the nature of maybe persecution of GBV cases. Yeah. So particularly the issue of rape, there needs to be some sort of urgency and expediency in terms of response to GBV. So the issue of one-stop center, or the nature of a one-stop center, is that all of these services are together at the same point and are easily and readily available to support survivors.
Wow, that's huge.
Oh,
and
yes.
That's really, really good. Suzzy, what are some of the common cases, apart from rape, that Evelyn mentioned?
There are lots of domestic violence cases. There are a lot of emotional abuse cases in the center. There are some cases that, they have a combination of not just one, 2, 3 types of GBV issues. Like, for instance, some of the just domestic violence cases, they have some emotional abuse cases there. So a lot of the victims, the survivors,
yes.
That's what we call them, survivors, because they're survivors in this area. So a lot of the survivors are treated basically case to case because they're very unique and they're very, particular in each incident. So in a case where you have the physical abuse, some of them come with the economic abuse, where the perpetrator is the one that is in charge of all the cards money-wise. And in a case where maybe father, daughter, or uncle, daughter. So we have a cross range of different types of GBV issues in the center that we deal with.
Okay. Evelyn, so walk us through what a typical week looks like in the one-stop center.
So there are different things that happen. So first and foremost, let's focus on the survivors that are already in the center. So Neem Foundation, like you mentioned, is partnering with the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs with the support of the EU Spotlight Program Initiative and with technical support from our partners UNFPA. So these survivors are either referred from the Social Development Secretariat or NAPTIP, which is the Agency for the Trafficking in Persons, and they are also administrators of the Violence Against Persons Prohibitions Act. Or they are even referred from some of our civil society partners who are working in the area of GBV, that they're not directly providing those services, but in the course of their work, they come across some of these cases.
Yeah.
So the survivors are typically referred from these agencies and organizations, and even from the Spotlight partners. So for the survivors that are in the shelter, we already have case workers from the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs. So daily and weekly, as the need and also as the need arises, survivors get in contact with their case workers. They follow up with their cases. Most times, maybe they have a legal case. Yeah. Survivors, the case workers follow through to ensure that survivors have access to these services. It could be maybe a medical case. The case workers link up with the survivors to ensure. Then we'll ensure they have access to these services. Then we do what we call expressive therapy. Okay. And group counseling and one-on-one counseling with the psychologists from Neem Foundation, where they come in to hold this one-on-one counseling with survivors and their children, because the survivors typically in most situations don't come alone, particularly those of survivors of domestic violence or intimate partner violence. They have children. Like now we have over 20 children at the center. Yes, so we do our individual counseling, expressive therapy. We use art, dance, cooking, film shows to, help the survivors overcome this trauma. And so typically, this is how it did at the One Stop Center is. And another thing we also do is the financial literacy. There's a vocational center within the center that offers fashion and designing training.
So like empowerment programs.
Exactly. Okay. So it's also a way of keeping the survivors engaged. Yes. And then there are peculiarities. Some even have businesses they're already doing. Okay. So there's an IT center where they, link up. We teach them how to improve their businesses using social media platforms and all of those social media facilities to improve their businesses. So
this is amazing.
we could be case managing.
Yes.
following up with survivors, doing our group therapy, doing our expressive therapy. And also importantly, we have a library.
Oh, okay.
Where there are different kind of books, particularly suited to the situation of survivors. Books on sex education, overcoming this kind of trials like GBV, trauma, things like that. So the library we also use reading as a way of healing. So this was a typical day looks like.
Every single case is different. So by listening to them, by creating that safe and secure environment, they come from different situations. So we attend to each one of them uniquely and separately. Some like to read, some like to paint, some just like being busy.
So it's not a blanket approach.
It is not a blanket approach. It isn't, because each one's each survivor's tale is different and unique to them. You cannot use this person's tale to handle this other person's case. So that's why even as workers at the center, we are basically told, and the way we live right now, we work as a team. We have to listen, and each and every single survivor, what they're dealing with, the needs, and address it there and then.
One unique aspect that I really like about the Safe Space and the One Stop Center is that it provides an alternative for people who would have otherwise been locked up with their perpetrators.
Precisely.
The center is currently funded by the EU UN Spotlight Initiative. And we're also receiving technical support from United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA. And then with further support from the Ministry of Women Affairs. So so far, to say 90% or almost 100% of the funding of the financial support is coming from our donor partners, EU and UN Spotlight Initiative. So what we do, NEEM does not have the expertise, to provide. NEEM does not provide legal support at that spot. So we are partnering with FIDA, International Federation of Female Lawyers. They've seconded lawyers to the center that provide the legal aid, legal counseling, legal advice, legal representation in court when the need arises. So they are domiciled in the center. Then we also have law enforcement agencies which are within the center or readily available when the need arises for them. And then to mention one of our critical partners, NAPTIP, they also have the mandate for prosecution, and they have been quite very effective at and proactive in their responses. So we work with them when an abuse happens. They quickly, after reporting an investigation, they pick up the perpetrators for questioning, and then they follow up through their legal department to ensure access to justice.
I'm really happy that this is a network of collaborators, and it just works on. Everyone is bringing their strengths. They are able to work better, especially with the federal government being involved. It means that the chances of catching the perpetrators and even getting justice is much higher than, say, when people want to pursue it themselves or stuff. So I was going to ask about these survivors, because I know that people who come to the One Stop Center, they don't stay there indefinitely. So for the survivors, when they go through the program, they're helped. Most of them still need to return. 2 questions. The first one for Suzzy. in your opinion, do they ever truly recover from this abuse? I know there's things like PTSD, but do they ever? I know they begin the process, of course. You guys will not just send them back because you stayed you exhausted your stay. Yeah, come and go, right? But when they begin the process and they have to go back to the same environment from whence they came, is there follow-up to see that they are healing or things are getting better, and that environment where they are coming from is now deemed safe?
Safe, yes. For every survivor that goes through the one-stop center, we follow up on all the cases. The fact that they are no longer there doesn't mean they are out and done. No. They still even have access to our services. You can't just leave people by the wayside. The issue of trauma and abuse, do they fully recover? I feel it's one step at a time. It's one day at a time.
Yeah.
We are just there as, to support them the best way we can.
Mm-hmm.
The best way we can. So for all the cases that have passed through the center, they are much better than how they first came. There's significant differences in how they first came and how they left. They know that, okay, this particular incident that happened to me no longer has control over my life. It's no longer it's not going to steal any more time from me.
Yes.
So they know that from that point on, they're going to take back their time. Now it's their time to shine. And they also know that they are not the cause of whatever happened to them. So it's a day-to-day thing, and that's why we at the center continuously follow up on the cases.
Yeah. Wow, that's really, really good.
So just to share a typical example of a survivor who was with us for a month. By the way, the timeline for survivors to be at the center is maximum 1 month, but there are peculiar cases, and based on the context in Nigeria, cases that have exceeded 1 month.
Okay.
So we don't just send them away because they've exceeded their timeline, but when they come in, we set up case objectives based on their needs. Once we are able to, with the survivor, reach those objectives and agree that they are stable, we work out a reintegration plan for them. Like typically for one of our cases, she was with us for a month. Her case was domestic violence, and through the Federation of International Federation of Female Lawyers, FIDA, who were able to, they were able to ensure she got the necessary legal advice. And even when she left, we kept on following up with her case, and knowing that she has all the services, she can easily reach out to NAPTIP or the police if her spouse abuses her. And all of these services are available. The spouse stopped abusing her.
Oh, wow.
He was physically, before she accessed the center, he was physically abusing her. But at the point she left, we even followed up with her case last week. And at that point, where we recognized she was stable and also verified she was stable, because we send our officers to also go around, pay impromptu visits to be sure, all is going on well. So the husband who initially, deprived her of economic empowerment has put her in a skill acquisition school. She's been enrolled. He has also giving her some financial support to start her business. And since she left in September, he has never hit her till today.
That an empowered person, is a really powerful person.
True.
When someone knows that they have options, when they know that I have options, I have access to safety, legal counsel, and so on and so forth, the perpetrator will know that, okay, I can't just mess with this person anyhow.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
because there are repercussions now.
Of course.
Right.
Of
Before,
course.
it used to be that, I know you, there's nothing you can do. But now, there are real life repercussions.
It is not
Exactly.
business as usual. So that has sort of served as a deterrent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we also insisted that the perpetrator, also pays for some sort of counseling.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not just the survivor that gets some sort of intervention. Also the perpetrator, right?
Well,
Some
for the
cases.
project, we focus on survivors.
Okay.
But as a way of, we also recommend that perpetrators go for some sort of counseling to also overcome, the issues or
yeah, because for
They
some
might
of
be
them it
having-
might be circle of violence. Maybe they were
Exactly.
abused or they were
Exactly.
violated
Yes.
as young
Exactly.
people, and then
Yes.
that's all they know.
exactly.
That's
So we
true.
recommended that he also got, psychological counseling. But we program mainly
Yes.
for survivors. But understanding that some of these survivors have spouses and they still want to go back to them. And the global standard for case management is to respect global principle for case management is to respect the wishes of the survivors.
Yeah.
So they still want to go back to their spouses. What we are working is to ensure that the environment is safe for them.
Yes.
We can't jettison the fact that most of them still want to go back to their spouses.
So it leads me to the second part of that earlier question. So we intervene and they come from certain communities and they go back to those communities. And then when they go back, they are seen as, no be that woman, her husband beat her, or no be that man, his wife beat her. All those kind of stigma,
Yes.
that comes with GBV, that comes with abuse and violations and so on and so forth. Has the One Stop Center intervened in this aspect, especially with regards to stigma, both on the side of, I know there's little or nothing that you can do in the community where they come from or the environment where they come from, but to help the survivor overcome, knowing that these things might come up, like Suzzy said earlier, that this does not define you, right? So what are other measures that the One Stop Center takes in stigma?
Okay, so beyond the services we offer at the One Stop Center, we also reach out to the communities within the FCT. We need more awareness. As much as we overflog that, people emphasize that the issue of awareness is often overflogged. No, we still need to take these messages to the trenches, the nook and crannies of Abuja, particularly within the communities, because Abuja is beyond Amak, which yes, there are also other rural communities within Abuja. So we do sensitization, we raise awareness within the communities, and we work with community influentials like the traditional leaders. We even have a traditional leader in Kurudu who has donated part of his palace as a safe space. So meetings are held there, discussions with women groups are also held in those kind of spaces. So we can see that the influencers who are more like the leads, more like people believe, gatekeepers, yes, that's the word. The gatekeepers, when they speak, people believe, listen and comply. So we've been working with them to put out this message of gender-based violence, so that it doesn't look like it's a Neem agenda or an EU agenda or a UN agenda or UNFPA agenda. It's an issue of human rights, yes, and respect for human rights and human dignity. So we work with these gatekeepers, the youth groups. It will interest you that in some communities, the youth group in Buhari, they are the ones leading gender-based violence responses. So beyond the awareness creation, the enlightenment, we also work with them to set up community-based structures for reporting and campaigns around GBV. And it's interesting to know that though these communities are conservative, but women are now taking the lead to say, how do we end gender-based violence in our markets, in our churches, in our mosques, our places of worship, in, all the public places, and, normalize this issue of reporting, because they are the most affected. Their girls are the most affected. If they don't take the lead, who will take the lead? So it's about strengthening community-based structures to lead the advocacy and campaign against stigmatization and reporting of GBV, and then linking them up to the services, because stigmatization will be fostered if GBV happens and nobody does anything. So it's about denormalizing the culture of stigma.
Yeah, I like what you said about normalizing reporting. Silence can be a huge. In fact, silence tends to even kill more than, sometimes even the case itself, right? Because silence, for some people, it's after it has been done, they keep quiet and they don't even know what has been done to them. Some people have infections that later on kills them. And it's this same silence, that starts that. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been talking with Evelyn, the technical lead at the One Stop Center, and Suzzy, the administrative officer at the One Stop Center. The One Stop Center is a collaborative effort between the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Neem Foundation. We've been discussing on creating safe spaces for victims of GBV. And this is our 16 Days of Activism edition, where we look at the global theme, which is Unite Activism to End Violence Against Women and Girls. Evelyn and Suzzy, in your last words for this podcast, there are many people who would be listening to this podcast and they are not in Abuja. So they might not be able to access the One Stop Center. Maybe there's no One Stop Center in their state or in their local government or where they stay. And maybe they are experiencing one form of GBV or another, right? They don't know what to do. They don't know who to call. They don't know how to go about getting help. They're just in a place where many Nigerians, both men and women who are survivors, have been or are in currently. Maybe just what word do you have for them? I'll start with you, Evelyn.
Okay, so the watchword there is to break the silence. You need to speak for you to get help. And the One Stop Center is readily available to walk you through the journey of surviving. We're moving you from a victim to a survivor. So you can access this center through the toll-free number. It is free. No charges attached. So I'm going to call out the number now. And it's 080 00 22 22. I'll take it again. 080 00 22 22 22. So it is that easy. Don't keep quiet. Don't die in silence. Call the helpline. Then lastly, just to speak to the team. Unite activism to end violence against women and girls. It's not GBV is not an issue CSOs can handle alone. No, it can't be handled by communities alone. No, we need all stakeholders to be on board. The medical sector, the sector responsible for gender, health, legal, and CSOs, just everybody, communities working together. And very importantly, we need funding. We need funding. We need support for GBV services. It is very expensive providing shelter, medical, legal process.
That's
It's
what I
not.
asked earlier.
Yes, it's not cheap. We need more support. So we're using this platform to advocate and urge the government to increase allocation of public funding to GBV services across the different sectors, the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Women Affairs, all of the ministries responding, all of the government agencies responding to gender-based violence. The Ministry of Health, Ministry of Justice, they've all alluded to the fact that the funding, they are grossly underfunded to respond to these issues. And then we're calling on private sector. It's also an issue of corporate social responsibility. We're appealing. We need more support to reach out to survivors. Remember, 1 in every 3 women are affected by gender-based violence. It could be you, it could be your daughter, it could be just anybody. Do it for humanity.
Thank you very much for that, Evelyn. Suzzy.
Okay, so I'm just going to speak directly to the survivors. If you or anyone you know is in a situation, I don't want you to feel that you are alone. You are not. You are never alone. Nigeria is a big country. There is a feeder office in every state. Where you cannot get to a feeder office, there's a gender desk at your local police station. Reach out to NAPTIP, reach out to the police, reach out to feeder. I just want you to know that you do not need to live like this. What is happening to you, it is wrong, it is wrong. You deserve a right as a human being to have your peace, to live, to be happy. So don't let it continue. You can stop it now. You can stop it now. And where you know that maybe your neighbor, your sister, or your friend or your colleague is going through that, please don't keep quiet. Some of these people don't have the strength to speak up. Some people don't have, some can't even face themselves. They feel what is happening to them is their fault. So it is up to you to take that step for them. You can apologize later. Because this needs to stop. There are so many cases, we cannot handle everything.
It's literally a case
it
of
is
life and death.
It's an old situation, but it's still prevalent in our society. So I just need to tell everyone that is going through that, or see someone that is going through that, there is help. Just reach out and do it. Do it today, not tomorrow.
There is help.
There is help.
Reach out and get help. Again, the number is 080 00 22 22 22. That's 080 00 22 22 22. Suzzy and Evelyn, thank you so much for coming to this episode of Neem Capsule.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Much. This has been a really, it's been heavy. And eye-opening. So to learn more about the One Stop Center, also you can call those numbers again. Is 080 00 22 22 22. My name remains Adidoyin. Thank you so much for joining us today. Till the next episode, please stay alive. Reach out, speak up. If you can't, let someone speak up for you. And in the worst case scenario, for those who cannot speak up, please, other people speak up. It's literally a life or death situation. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Till the next time, bye for now.